Hi, everybody, and welcome to Quarantine Cafe. I am here right now with my buddy Trace. Hey, Trace, where are you at right now? How's your quarantine going, and how are things?
I am home in Florida, in St. Petersburg, Florida right now. The quarantine is going well. Just, very solitary and have a lot of free time. And, everything's going well. Very peaceful, and everyone is healthy. My family is all good. So, I'm good.
Cool. So do you want to tell us a little bit about what you're about to play for us?
Yeah, so it's an excerpt from my senior recital for Berklee College of Music. I had to do it from a remote location here in my backyard, actually, near my pool, if you can see. I don't know. Yeah, I recorded it like 3 feet from where I'm sitting right now. But my recital was indefinitely postponed due to the coronavirus. I was supposed to play like a week after everything got shut down. So I was just like right there, and I was like, oh man, I was really feeling the whole entire performance, and then it was just cut off like that. So instead of just sitting around, I got creative and put some backing tracks into my computer, and then came out here and just did the whole entire thing in really maybe 40 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, so let's give that a listen, and then we'll be back in a second to talk a little bit more about it.
Now I'm going to play There Will Never Be Another You. That first composition was entitled Sunny Moon for Two by Sonny Rollins.
So Trace, so it's funny. So you were playing a bunch of like jazz standards, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So and you were playing with backing tracks, and I was wondering where did you get the backing tracks from? Because they sound like they're better than like I Real Be tracks.
Yeah, they are, man. I found the YouTube, like Abersold. There's a channel, learning jazz standards or playing jazz standards or something like that.
Okay.
And I practice with those all the time. I put them on, and it feels like a real band playing behind you. It doesn't just sound like as you mentioned, the I Real B, which kind of just is very repetitive. And I'm someone that loves live performance and the spontaneity of a real rhythm section. So that's the closest I could get to that feeling with a backing track. So I just downloaded some of those and chopped them up to an appropriate length and everything. And then some of them I think were just maybe some amateur ones. Like I think one song that I played was just some guy made a backing track and like uploaded it for people to practice to. So I gladly took it.
Yeah. That's funny. That's like almost like collaborative in a way, you know? Like at least people can still play jazz music together, kind of.
Yeah, and sometimes it does feel better than some live moments. I'll tell you what. I mean, sometimes you play with people and it just doesn't work. You're like, man, I wasn't really fitting in with what those guys are doing. But with the backing track, man, they never mess up. So I'm good.
Yeah, they never mess up. That's true. They never flip the beat, you know?
Yeah, and I can do as many takes as I want, and so I don't mess up. So everything ends up being like, some kind of combination of like live and studio playing that can bring out those feelings. It's funny because it felt like I was playing live in a way. Like by the third or fourth song, I felt like I was really playing in front of a group of people, which was just weird because I'm playing to my laptop, you know what I mean? I'm playing to a camera, and when you start getting that feeling and you feel the flow, it's like, oh, okay, well, this is how it is, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like I did a gig once, like a while back. It was like some kind of opening for like a big apartment complex or something. But they had me playing like 4 hours a day for like a week. And it was just me and like I Real Be, you know, hanging out in the lobby while like they were trying to sell apartments. And it was like oddly kind of fun though. You know, it was like great. It was just like, hey, let's pay you a few $100 to just like practice tunes. Like,
oh yeah. You can definitely find the groove in that. I mean, after enough times and everything, it just starts to kick in the instincts or the reflexes, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
They start to come back, and then you feel like right in the zone. Because I've done that too, man. In high school, they used to play, like put students out in front of the grocery store to get donations.
Yep.
And everyone would play like classical etudes and stuff, but because I was in the jazz band, they would send me and this trumpet player out to do the jazz segment or whatever. And I just had a little PA and I Real B. So we put that on, and it was like I just had to pretend like it was a real deal band playing behind me and everything. So I although I wasn't being paid hundreds of dollars like you, so I guess that was
hopefully
I
you guys like
liked it a lot more
for charity, right?
Yeah, it was all for like band trips and stuff like that.
Nice.
Now I'm going to play All the Things You Are. Now I'm going to play All of Me.
I was super curious. What kind of mouthpiece are you playing?
The typical sax player question. Yeah.
Yeah, well, just because it
Um,
looks like so like fly, I guess. You know, I'm not usually a gearhead, but you have like this
Yeah.
super bright looking mouthpiece. And
Yeah,
also
it's
like
a-
just you play certain things that are like really hard to play. So it's good to know what kind of mouthpiece you use.
Yeah, I've always been a gear guy. And when we met, I'm sure we talked about that. I'm sure I asked you what mouthpiece you were on. I love the equipment side of things, and I'm
Yeah.
always looking for new things to try. And this past October of 2019, this new company, this like French mouthpiece company that uses 3D printing, they came to Berkeley
Okay.
and they were doing demos for their product. Like they just had a bunch of stuff for everybody to try. And it's a really long story how I ended up there. I didn't go there to really try anything. I went there for something else. I just happened to be there. It was a total like, you know, when worlds collide moment.
Yep.
And I tried out some of the stuff, even though I knew better. I knew that I would buy something. I was like, don't try it. I'm gonna buy something. But I was like, okay, whatever, I'll try it. They had this funky looking mouthpieces. And I tried them and I was like, yeah, it doesn't really work. It's not really like, you know, fitting. I can't use it to express myself. And so I asked the company director if they had anything maybe a little bit more suited for me. And man, I'm not even kidding. She pulled out a suitcase, like this crazy looking suitcase that looked like something from Men in Black. And she like opened this thing up and everything in it was this orange, like really bright orange. And I was like, what is this? What is she doing right now? And she gave me the mouthpiece that you see in the video, and I've been playing it ever since. And it's this custom 3D printed plastic mouthpiece. And I can't get enough of it, man. I love it.
Yeah, cool.
Now I'm going to play Autumn Leaves. That was Autumn Leaves, and now I'm going to play Oleo.
So here, I got another question for you. This is like a real talking shop, like saxophone kind of question, but I'm sure
down.
there are tons of young horn players watching this right now who, like me, are wondering, like, dude, how do you hit some of the like high notes that you hit? Because like your altissimo is just like kind of nutty good, you know? Like, what are your
Thank
tips
you.
to like a young aspiring saxophone player like myself for like hitting those notes a little bit better?
Well, man, you got more tips than I do for just about everything saxophone related. Yeah, I mean, you're the guy. But for the altissimo stuff, that's just been like a primary focus of mine for probably like since I started playing. I used to play baritone.
Yeah.
Only bari
Okay.
from maybe the time I was like 14 until I was 16, and then like tenor became kind of my primary voice. But I had developed this way to play super high on bari with the overtones. Like I would play a low B flat and I would get all the upper partials and all those sounds and like kind of squeals, you know, like the really kind of animal sound effects. And I just thought that was really fun. I thought that there was a place for that in my improvisation. And then the more I listened to saxophone players, the more I discovered that I wasn't the first guy to invent that sound, that other people had been using altissimo. Players like Gerald Albright and James Carter. And then
James
later,
Carter. Oh man. Yeah.
James Carter has unparalleled altissimo control.
Yeah.
But then really, I think it started to take on a different level when I was hearing Sonny Rollins and Rahsaan Roland Kirk.
Yep.
And Train. You know, like the way that they used altissimo, it wasn't always perfect. There was a little bit of a nastiness to it, a little bit of a gritty. I don't know. I get energetic just thinking about it. But when I heard that, I was like, you know, that's it.
I know what you mean, man. It's funny. Like there's sort of like this like pre-Brecker thing and like this post like Brecker thing. For anybody who's watching, we're talking about Michael Brecker. He's like sort of like one of the great saxophone players. But like he's sort of, I feel like there are a lot of things that people were doing in the 1960s that were like kind of like raw and rough, but really, really cool. And like Mike Brecker almost like took a lot of that stuff and made it, I don't know, made it like pop in a way, made it like really codified.
Yeah.
And like the way totally. He plays like his altissimo and it's like perfect, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure. He's just such a hero of mine, so I have to take a minute and pay him respect.
Yeah.
Because without him, there is no me, you know. And same thing can be said for many of these people. And in my research, I've read some interviews, and there's an interesting cultural component to the whole altissimo, like the way that the tenor specifically plays in that style, going back to Illinois Jacquet.
Yeah,
and hearing some of the solos that he does,
he's
where
nuts too.
He's crazy.
Yeah,
and like these solos are like 1948, 1946, and he's playing in this way that everyone is just makes your head turn. You're like, what is that guy doing?
Yeah,
and I think part of that really comes from the struggle for the civil rights movement. It comes from the kind of rough and tumble spirit that they had, the kind of like, well, I'm going to get up here and in the face of adversity, I'm going to play a abundantly joyful music, you know, the kind of music that these guys were playing. And that was even, I don't know if it's in the excerpt that I contributed to the show, but I played Flying Home in the set, which is paying homage to Illinois Jacquet, just because of that fact, you know, like if it wasn't for that combination of struggle and freedom and happiness mixed together, I feel like that for me is what does it. When I learned about those things and then I heard that sound, I was like, that is what is making that sound connect. You know what I mean? Because in the case of Brecker and then later all these other studio musicians who their goal was to create kind of like a 100% fully baked cake with the icing and everything and the cherry on top. It didn't take away the soul. I'm not going to say that it took away the soul, but it had a different purpose. It was a commercial kind of product. And when you hear Brecker on his own, when he plays individually, like some of these videos on YouTube of him at jazz festivals, like playing acoustic music where it's no holds barred, like he's off on his own, man, he can, it like sears your ears. It has this crazy quality, and like I can't get enough of that. So much to the chagrin of my private instructors at Berkeley, who, you know, were always on my butt about how rough my altissimo sounded when when they would hear me. They were like, nope, it has to be the pure sound. You know, I'm like, nah, man. Yeah, that's kind of how that happened. But there's a great book, actually, going back to like what to practice to develop. There's a really good book that just came out called Playing in the Attic. Okay. By I can't remember this. His name is like Paul. I can't remember, or Ron or something. I can't remember this guy's name right now. Oh my gosh! But he played with Tower Power and a bunch of other groups, and he came up with a book. And it's great. Like it basically has any tip for playing altissimo that you could ever want in one place. Like anything I've ever heard from players after, and I'm talking like, I've talked to some guys after jam sessions that have given me stuff that I've scribbled down on like napkins, and they're in this book. So it's a great source. I think it would save players a lot of time, definitely young players, and answer a lot of questions. And also there's a lot of info about how the mouthpiece affects the altissimo, like face and curve, baffle, tip opening, reed strength. Those are all very necessary components to understand if you're trying to get another octave or two into your playing.
Now I'm going to play Flying Home by Illinois Jacquet.
So I think we're about out of time for the interview, which is unfortunate because I actually really just like talking to people about saxophones. But
yeah, same.
But is there anything else that you want to say to the audience at Quarantine Cafe?
Stay healthy, stay positive. If you're making music, keep on making it. If you're not, keep on listening and maybe try to make it. You have a bunch of free time now to to make something, and yeah, just stay creative and stay positive. That's my message.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. That was Trace, and I'm Callum. I'm your host at Quarantine Cafe, and we will see you guys again tomorrow at noon.